Alright, so we're down here to go spec where our Casper Van Dien interview is going to be. And then look, it's at Roy. It's in the middle of the Marriott. We had to investigate where the heck it was, and I'm actually amazed they already set up. So, yeah, kind of cool, huh?
My name is Anarchy, director of Starship Troopers, Traitor Yes, thank you.
共同監督の松本です。よろしくお願いします。
Keep your voice up. Louder, brother, louder.
共同監督の松本です。よろしくお願いします。
そうですね。
So these are two co-directors of the film, Shinji Araki and Masaru Matsumoto. My name is Joseph Cho, producer of the film.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I'll take it you'll be doing most of the talking.
I assume so, yes.
Well, because you're the one with the loudest voice. No offense. All right. So, you guys say something?
All right, I'll start off.
Open it up.
Incredible visual universe of Starship Troopers. A lot of diversity, not only with the humans, with the bugs.
Right.
Where's the, well, I suppose it's just start. How does the challenge to continually evolve the story, keeping things that fans expect to see, but also giving them something new?
本当にいろいろいろんな種類の、やっぱり人種もそうなんですけど、バグもいろんな種類が出てきて本当に面白かったと思うんですけど、オリジナルを守りながらやっぱり新しい要素を入れたっていうチャレンジがあったと思いますけれども、ちょっとご説明いただければと。
はい、このスターシップルーパーズのシリーズっていうのはやっぱりもう一番最初のライブアクションがのファンがもうとにかくたくさんいると思います。僕もその一人なんですけど、さらに僕はその前のハイナインの、小説のファンでもあります。でだからその2つ、自分が好きな、小説の部分とワン方面の面白かった部分というのを一つに合体した作品にしたいなというのが今回の作品になります。そのためにエド・ニューマイヤーが脚本を書いてくれたのがすごく大きな助けになりましたし、キャラクターを作る上でやっぱりキャスパー・バンディーンの存在というのはすごく大きかったですね。でそこが、うまくまとまっていればいい作品になっていると思います。はい。
そうですね。That's all I know.
As you're adding the smoke effect to the camera.
You gotta have our fog machine.
I did good, right?
There, yeah, of course.
I get yelled at a lot. So.
Special effects.
Practical special effects.
何でしたっけ？
何がチャレンジなのか、その元のスターシップルーパーズの、はい、
そうですね。
そうですね。そうですね。そうですね。そうですね。I've only had 2 beers and I've already making everyone laugh. What the hell's wrong with me? Next thing you know, we'll turn into a cocktail party again. We have a tendency to do that, actually. We were at
Party does tend to follow us.
Yeah, like last year. I'll make this quick. This is about you guys. Last year we were at a press conference for the composers, and we literally turned it into a cocktail party. Like everybody started getting drunk.
Nice.
You can drink here?
Like the guy who does the music for X-Men, like he was like we got him so drunk that he was actually telling me about how his family, how all his friends are getting married and he's feeling old and shit. And I'm all like, dude, this is not one of the questions. You do the music to X-Men, I want to know about that and how you're doing, dude. Because I interviewed him years before, you know. But yeah, back to you, sorry. I'm just having flashbacks to this stuff. That's all. Yeah, go ahead. So does Nick.
I think you forgot the question already.
Alright. You have a question, don't you?
No. Well, let me translate that first. And, I think the challenge of this film was that obviously, I mean, the directors are also fans of the original film as well. So really, kind of staying in that world was very important because, I mean, obviously, it is a position of a sequel to the film. But at the same time, so there's a lot of respect that's given to actually what Paul Verhoeven did in this film. But in that sense, I think having Ed Neumeyer, the original writer, joining in the project actually was a huge help to really keep things consistent. And also, Casper's presence as the main character also was important. But at the same time, they wanted to realize what they thought was also interesting, or they wanted to see in the new Starship Troopers film. and I think you see a lot of different elements that might have been missing from the film, and that was for example in the original novel, like for example like these power suits, and so I think it's a mix of old and new, and hopefully the audience really gets to enjoy what they've created. Yeah.
I mean, I'd ask. Oh no, wait. Go ahead. I was gonna say like I'd ask. Did you give it integrity? But duh. Yeah, right. Well, you already given it integrity.
Do you count number 2 and 3 at all in the series?
Yeah.
Good question.
Do you personally ignore it, or is it just...
There was that.
Is there anything in those that contradicts stuff? Like, how did you get it settled on the animation style for these sequels?
Okay, well, let me answer that because it's a loaded question that you just asked. It really is a loaded question, but I think in the spirit of the film was to try to really be the sequel to the original film. So we weren't trying to ignore what Ed has created afterwards, but I think the impact of the first one was such that I think what fans really wanted to see was a continuation of it in terms of scale. And I think in this day and age, it's easier to try to realize that in the form of CG animation than in the live action. So I think that's why it was important that we took this on with the original crew. So hopefully you see that on screen, and I said I know you said integrity, duh, but
like I said, do you have any integrity? You're like, duh. I mean, like honestly, like my only other question is, why didn't you get Jake Busey? Like you already got Diz back. Because his character didn't even die in the first one or any of them.
Jake Busey ってなんで出なかったのってオリジナルフィルムのいたんじゃないですか仲間の金髪のやつ、結構乱暴な死んでないやつ、オリジナルフィルムが
Yeah, Jake Busey. Jake Busey.
Okay.
You're the violin player.
In the next film.
It's like the style is sort of like a hyper-realistic, almost video game kind of like cutscene video game style. Like, how did you settle on that as opposed to something more hyper-real or something more animated?
でアニメーションに関しては、またなんかビデオゲームのカットムービーみたいなアプローチをとってますけど、だからそれをもっとリアルになんかしなかったり、もっとアニメーション寄りにしなかったりっていう、なんでこのバランスを取ったんですかっていう。
すごくなんかあんまり答えて正しいのかどうかわかんないですけど、やっぱりコストパフォーマンスの問題はすごく大きいと思いますし、それ以上クオリティを上げることも短ければできるんですけど、やっぱりそこは物語をとにかく語らなきゃいけないという、ある程度80分ぐらい作るので長い尺を作らなきゃいけないという中でいろいろバランスを踏めると今ぐらいの画質にどうしてもなってしまう。それが僕らにとっては一番作りやすいバランスだということだと思います。
そうですね。逆にゲームよりももう少しおとなしめに作ってる、要は内容を伝えるために、要はわざと同ポジションに対応したり、要は同じポジションを高める、
ちょっとじゃ地味になるんだけど、
でそういう積み重ねで、要はより内容を理解してもらいやすくするためにそういう手法を取ってます。
So I think there's a couple reasons. I mean, there's a realistic aspect. I mean, there's the practical aspect to it. There's also a creative aspect to it. I think practical aspect to it is obviously, when you're talking about hyper-real, you're talking about cost. And when we do films like this, especially when you try to take it more and more like real, what happens is either it gets compared to a live-action film with lots of VFX, or it gets compared to like a video game cut movies. But I think one needs to understand sometimes that some of these video game cut movies or the trailers that you see has the same budget to do 5 minutes what we do for 90 minutes. So there's a cost performance issue. So we need to actually balance that out and arrive at a place where it's something that's fun to look at and it's interesting, and it's something that people can it will not be alienated by. But at the same time, then you are able to tell the story for the entire feature. So that's a practical aspect to that. So you need to settle at some balance, right? So that's one. Another is that you also need to be able to, like, you know, when you're dial up certain quality. I mean, it's so easy to be kind of taken away by that. Like, once you start continue to hit people with something new, with dialed up contrast and details and whatnot, you get tired of it, like, after a while. And so it's something that actually we purposely actually used the camera movements, for example. That's unreal. That's, you know, for example, when you use CG animation, you could really put camera anywhere. And the camera could move in any way again. But actually, in order to make it seem more real or actually more consistent with the films, they limited the camera movements and the placement of cameras on purpose, so that when you look at it, it doesn't seem so alienating, and especially some you know in a style that's not consistent with the world that we're in. Yeah.
How close were you trying to match kind of the likenesses of the actors who were returning?
役者のやっぱり顔とかどこまでやっぱりこう見せようと思ったんですかね。
見せようとは基本的にしてないですね。イメージは大事なんで、まあ誰が誰か分かるようにはしてますけど。
ディジーの髪の毛ぐらいですか。
そうですね。ディジーの髪が少しソバージュになってるのとかは一応継承してますけど、顔自体は特に本人のスキャンとかも全然してないですし、特に似せるために何か努力はしてないですね。
I think when you look at the characters, I mean, we do get questions. I mean, did you just try to scan the actors' faces and whatnot? And it actually wasn't done on purpose, and because it is certain impression that they have about the characters that's been taken away. So it actually started with 2D design, and then it was modeled. Certainly, we actually did the performance capture of the faces. But we didn't try to intentionally try to see, oh, what if these actors got older or whatnot. But they did try to keep consistent with the characters in terms of hairstyle, how they carry themselves, their body and whatnot. So those things we try to stay consistent with. But it's actually how the characters age is an interpretation or impression that actually the filmmakers wanted to realize on the screen rather than and just a copy of the actors' faces. Yeah.
All I gotta say is thank you for the last movie you guys did, because we finally got to see Carmen's boobs. You can translate for it if you want.
インベージョン本当感謝します。やっぱりこうおっぱい見れたんだからカルメの。
どうもありがとう。
どうもありがとう。
どうもありがとう。どうもありがとう。
Alright, thank you guys.
20 years of Starship Troopers.
Has such a man crush on you. He wanted me to give
On
you
Ed?
No, on you.
Oh, I
He
mean,
wanted me to give you a slow hug and lean back a little bit, and just
dude.
so it's not weird.
You tell him we totally did it, but backwards.
Exactly.
All right.
I mean, literally, like, okay, it was like 20 years ago we go to a Star convention and we had those buttons of that shirt.
Yes, we did.
He stole every single button at that convention.
He did?
Yeah, our friend Jason, the one who wanted to give you.
Loves you.
Yeah,
The one who
the
loves you.
hug one.
Yeah, the hug one.
That's what I said.
He
That one, the hug one.
Yeah, he stole every
one.
He stole every button. And his exact words when he got those buttons is, "This place is gonna be covered in my jizz." That's how obsessed he was of you.
Well, he's the one that wrote me that way, so this is the real man crush he's got. He didn't even know it. So
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, start with something cool.
Well, I've got one. One of the Raiders wanted me to ask you, Casper, what was your favorite action scene to perform in the first film, and then what is your favorite action scene from the new one?
So in the first film, jumping off the 30-foot mountain, landing on the back of the tanker, that was my favorite one. It took me 3 days to film, where we had 12-hour days on it. At least I think we were 12-hour days up on it, because it took a little bit of time getting up and on, and they wired me in, and it was like the back of an upside-down hull of a boat on pistons, and it would go forward and back
On a French tractor.
On a French tractor that would move forward and go around in circles while the other troopers are running around. The cameras were up there. And on the very first take, they told me, "You have a loaded weapon. with you know, your weapons loaded, your Marine rifles loaded, and the shotgun on it was loaded. So I was like, okay, so don't fall on it, and if you fall. And so the first time as I was going, the wire caught me because they had wires on it because in case I fell, they didn't want me to fall all the way off and break my neck or get run over or both. So it caught me, and I landed. As I was going down, I was like, oh, put my weapon ahead, and I rang my bell so hard and chipped 2 teeth. I chipped this tooth and this tooth down here, and I had to get them rebonded. But I was ringing, my teeth hurt so bad. And the second take, we went again, and I got caught again, and this time I was like, ha, do not put weapon above head. I landed with the butt of the gun in my ribcage, and I spat blood right out of my mouth, and it hit the camera lens, and Mark Moore, the camera operator, goes, I didn't know you had one of the pellets with the blood. And I go, I didn't. And that was the first 2 takes, and then we wrote it for 3 days. So that was my favorite one. It's the first time I ever put ice in the tub and taken an ice, because you can't do anything when you crack a rib. So, and my favorite one in this one was the one where I had the knife fight with a bug. I took a knife to a bug fight.
I also like the fact that you guys, like, you know, because later on, like in this, you know, in all the other animated, in the last one, how like, because you know, in the first one, you only got up to like lieutenant, right?
Yeah.
And then like, you know, because Carmen moved up to captain, Doogie Howser, or whatever that like character.
They were smarter than me.
Yeah. they all like moved up to higher ranks, and then now in the CGI ones, you're a fucking general.
Well,
that's gangsta.
Well, you know why it's gangsta? And thank you very much. But you know why it's gangsta? It's because not very many people survive. This is the way he writes this. War is hell, and people keep losing. When you lose that many people, and you start ending up becoming, and it becomes 20 years later, and you're now like one of the oldest people. And I get up there, and after 20 years, you can be in this position. But in Starship Troopers world, this is because there's not that many older people left.
That's right. You talk about approaching the story for this one and kind of introducing or dealing with a lot of the political elements between Earth and the Mars colony, and really making that the focus of it.
Right. The reason, there are 2 reasons to do this. One, I sort of had a story in mind about that. I mean, we wrote this before the last election, but it seems like this election about popularity, about propaganda, and about, you know, people with different agendas at the top. But I also wanted to do it. I also knew a way that I could bring the character of Dizzy Flores back in, who was killed in the first one.
We're about to ask about that too. But go ahead.
And so I thought, oh, I know how I can do that in a way that's not a cheat. Or that's, you know, that sort of works, and those were the things that I wanted to do, and I wanted to have the original friends who are now, as you said, they're off. Some of them are one of them's a general, one of them's a captain, and he's in the infantry, and he's been busted, but they still have to. Their friendship from high school is still important enough that it's these 3 getting back together again to save the Federation from itself in this case.
But what happened to Jake Busey's character? I asked the director guy. I asked the other guys.
You know, we feel bad about that. If we had known, we could have had. No,
he's not dead yet.
He could have been in this one.
And hell, his character in Dustle Dog got killed off, so he's looking for work.
Tony Ishizuka said we can't afford a Busey.
Really?
No. You know, in the next Starship Troopers, I think he should have a bigger role. I think Jake should be in.
We should have Jake back.
I mean, the reason I was asking that mainly is because I was watching the Dusk Till Dawn series. They already killed him off. He played the guy. He played the guy with the gun on his crotch.
Right. Oh, he's dead in the Dusk Till Dawn. So they need
season 1.
They need somebody else in that series then.
No, that's
Rico should go over there.
Yeah, but that show's canceled already.
Oh, it's
really.
Well, that's because they didn't hire Rico. So.
Exactly.
Did you record alone, or were you with some of the other actors?
So even when I do the ADR for the live action films, I'm in the booth by myself doing it. So I have to recreate my voice for that one. This one I didn't get to do the mocap because they didn't bring me over there. But I'm really going to convince the people from Sony to bring me over to Japan the next time to do the mocap. I'm totally gonna to convince them for the next film so I can do the movie. Because I would love to do that. I just did it in Robert Rodriguez's film in Alita Battle Angel, and I would like to do that for Sony as well in Starship Troopers, the next installment, whatever we do for it.
It will be better if you do.
See, I love this man. Not only does he write for me, but he's got my back. But I got to do the voiceover, and I was just in the room by myself. But I did go the day that Dizzy did it, and I went and I saw her and I said hey to her. So that was really awesome to see. She did such a great job bringing the character back to life again. And
oh yeah, thank you for bringing her back too, because she's been having bad luck in her career too these days. No offense, I'm just saying. Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that the fans, the unfortunate thing is she died in the first one, and everybody liked her. So,
it was the only movie we saw her boobs. Come on. Like I already talked to them about the thank you for the boobs in the other one.
But I'm gonna lay that up for you.
That's right. Yeah.
I have to see her still, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Now, I had a question. When you wrote the original film, I remember reading the book back in high school, and then it was in grad school when the movie came out, and I really enjoyed the movie. It was, and I looked at it, and I thought at first, oh, why is there the shuttle? Why isn't there the drops? And then, of course, I realized in the Power Armor, well, there's budgetary issues. And then I went back and I read the book, and I thought, this would have been impossible to do this book as a 2-3 hour movie because there's just so much to it. I mean, a big chunk of it is him in boot camp, but then there's the battle, the skinnies. And all that stuff. And I'm just thinking, that must have been a real daunting task for you to say what comes, what goes, and what do I create something new for that's inspired by the book.
Well, it was a daunting task because I read it when I was 13, and I thought it was the greatest book I had ever read. And then I never thought about making it as a movie until Jurassic Park came out, and I thought, we have the ability with the effects to do it. We know it's Phil Tippett. It would be great for Paul. Paul and I have been talking about a concept that it really worked for. And so then suddenly I found myself adapting this kind of, pretty famous book, actually. And basically, I wanted to make it like a movie about, I always said it was sort of Tab Hunter and Sandra Dee go to space and fight giant bugs and become Nazis. And so I kind of wanted it to be that kind of movie. There was a definite thing of wanting it to feel like a B movie a little bit, but that sort of thing. And it sort of just went from there. I mean, that meant you had to have romances. And I remember in the first draft, there was a proper romance between Carmen and Johnny, and there was a rival, and Paul, and then there was a friend in the first draft, Dizzy Flores, who was a guy. And when Paul read the script, he said, "I think we should make Dizzy a girl." And I immediately thought, oh, that's a really good idea. And so then we had this kind of double triangle, and it really emphasized the high schoolness of it all and moving forward. And so that's how that happened.
Because of the idea of the mixed gender kind of military before, the U.S.
Before we're doing it now. Yeah, well, we had done that in RoboCop a little bit. We had a locker room scene where we just kind of casually showed that, and I always knew that we should do that in this movie and really do it. Kind of, we didn't get to do it before, but now we'll really do it. And I knew Paul would like that scene, so
yeah.
What I think is really fucked up when it comes to like fans and shit like that is that when you guys first came out, people said you were want to be aliens. Well, in reality, when James Cameron did Aliens, what was required reading to all the people playing the Marines?
Oh, no, he stole that movie. In fact, he didn't say Bug Hunt. I didn't use the word Bug Hunt because he had used it.
Yeah.
Because Bug Hunt is in the book.
It's in the book.
So that's what I'm saying. You guys rock because it's like, it's one of those things where you're the original and some rip-off rips you off and takes the credit. But it's not the first time.
He's a smart guy. He ripped off the right thing.
Well, but it's a second.
He went to our high school.
Yeah, he went to my high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you graduated in Brea, dude.
You guys look great for your age.
No, we didn't graduate with him. No, he graduated in 1980, the same year. Like he graduated, James Cameron graduated high school the same year, and who's also in his class, James Hetfield. Imagine that high school reunion.
Yeah.
James Hetfield, James Cameron, and Nancy Cartwright. Yeah. All class of 1980 in Brea.
Really, Nancy Cartwright too?
Yes, all Brea.
By the way, fair to say about James Cameron, without James Cameron, there is no Ed Neumeyer career. Here's why. Because RoboCop was made at Orion, even though I'd written it before that, it was made at Orion because Terminator had been ahead. Mm-hmm. They would not have had the imagination to say, oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, but what was Terminator rip off of?
Well, I don't know.
Outer Limits.
Yeah, well.
Remember, very end?
Let's not. We can't talk about Harlan Ellison. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll stop.
No, I'm kidding. And then Starship Troopers came along, and people said, "Oh, it's like Alien." I mean, in other words, he had kind of laid the ground that they could imagine that movie. Now, we didn't make a movie just like Aliens, but we made our own version of it. And so I'm grateful to Jim, actually.
So what? Just talking about this movie, what do you think? If you're talking to the fans, what do you think they would enjoy most about seeing this one?
I think they get to see the power armor as Heinlein might have wanted it or imagined it. In other words, the power armor has always been a little beyond it was beyond our means in the '97 one. We didn't have enough money, and that was an expensive movie at that time. We could have the bugs, I remember the producer saying, "Well, you can have the bugs, or you can have the power armor. What do you want?" And so we did. And then in 3, we had a little tiny bit of power armor, but we didn't have that much money to. So I think to really imagine it, you needed a guy like Shinji Aramaki.
Yeah.
Not only is operating in the animation space, which allows it, but he's like the best mecha design. You probably know, but he's one of the best mecha guys there is, and just astounding stuff.
Represent.
This is from. Yeah, there we go.
Invasion. This is
from Invasion, but he's even made it. I think he's actually made it even more better since then. Anyway, I think
he's the number one designer. He became a mocap designer, a mecha designer, excuse me, because of Starship Troopers. He saw the book, the cover of the book, when he was younger, and they had a mechanized suit on there, and he said, "I could do that," and he can, and he did.
He did.
And I think that's the amazing thing. But I think I agree that the suits are a reason why people should see it. But I also think that Ed put the sense of humor back in, and he's got the satire in it still. So he has an interesting story. So it's fun. I think it ties the book in, and it's a great sequel. I think it's the best sequel to the original film.
Was there, besides the power armor, was there like a scene involving one of the classic characters that you just were dying to stick into a movie when you finally got a chance to do?
Well, actually, I had always wanted to do a scene because the sequels were always made for a lot lower budget than we had the first time around. So we were always trying to think of really cheap ideas that we could do, and one of them that I thought of that I never was able to do was just him fighting with a bug by himself. And we kind of wanted to do it in 3. We didn't have the time or the money to do it, so this was a way to do that we got to do there.
It was so fun for me because I remember us talking about the scene. We were going to try to shoot this scene in the 3rd one if we had the time or the money, and we just kept talking about it the whole film, and we never got to do it. And then I saw it in this one, and I was like,
yes, here it is.
So it's just always fun to do that. It's also fun to be 20 years into the movie, and then the character's now 20 years older. I'm 20 years older, and he's been through a lot. I've been through a lot life experiences. We all go through this, and to feel it, and see it, and to be a part of it, it's just awesome.
And you haven't aged a bit.
You're very kind, sir.
You're very kind, sir.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
For watching, don't forget to like and subscribe or I will scratch your eyeballs out.